Hello, I'm Elisa Kennedy for Video on the Go with Backstage on Stage at the Barn Theater. We haven't been with you for a while, but we're here to talk about our upcoming production, Juno and the Paycock. And I have with me Kathrynne Forsbrey as my guest. Kathrynne is the producer of Juno and the Paycock, the show that opens on March 8th. Welcome, Kathrynne.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
And have you produced at the Barn before this production?
I produced my first show at the Barn, I think, about 14 years ago, and several since then.
And as I recall, there was one just about a year ago, so you're doing it once a year these days.
It's been once a year for several years.
Well, Juno and the Paycock, which was one of my favorite plays in college, was written by Sean O'Casey. And what year does it take place? It's in Dublin.
It's in Dublin. The year is 1922.
And that was a year of political, civil strife in Dublin. And,
Great civil strife.
And this is a story of a family, a poor working class family, and not only does the strife affect them, but they have their own personal problems as well. Tell me a little bit about the cast of this production. Who's in it? Who are the characters?
The central characters are that family, the Boyles, the mother and father, Juno, the mother figure that it's named after, the father who's the Paycock, who struts. Their two children, their problems that, as you said, are personal problems and also problems that are brought to them by the strife in Ireland, and then the people in their tenement building that they interact with. So
Neighbors.
The neighbors.
The set is of a tenement apartment, and I was very impressed with it, and I'm very pleased to say that I'm working closely with Kathrynne on the show. I'm doing props, and we are privileged to have the set design, the model. Kathrynne, who was the set designer for this project?
The set designer was Bob Conti, somebody new to the Barn Theater. Bob has worked on sets over with the Nutley Little Theater. And he came to us complete with a crew who worked with our wonderful crew, and they've produced this marvelous set that we're so proud of. When I read the play, I pictured a little room, and Bob has given us a feeling of a tenement in Ireland, extended it beyond just that room. And the feeling is just wonderful.
The exterior is as impressive as the interior of the set, and there's even a clothesline out here. We don't see it here, but on the set.
And the bricks, which many people spent hours painting those bricks.
Kathrynne, as producer, you interact with all these people. What does a producer do?
Everybody always wants to know what the producer does, and many people involved with the play never do find out what a producer does. Essentially, you put together all the crews. When you go to a play, there's so much that takes place in the background. There are the lighting people, the sound people, the set decorator, the design person, construction, decor, makeup, props, which you're doing, stage crew, costumes. So it's getting the crews, the crew chiefs, putting the crews together, coordinating everything so that they're all there to do the work, coordinating all of the aspects, the off-stage background aspects of putting a play together.
About how many people do you think have been involved in the backstage facet of this?
Oh, I just delivered the program to the printer this morning. He was wondering if all the names were going to get on. This is a big show.
Yes.
I'd say there are about 60 to 70 people who have been involved in one phase or another at one time or another.
I know there are 16 characters, I believe, or 16 actors.
16 people on stage,
right,
characters, yes.
And the producer also interfaces constantly with the director. And
yes.
I know you've done that before with Marty Wilde, who is directing this, and Kathrynne, you have worked with him.
Yes, Marty and I teamed last year for the first time with The Boys Next Door. And we, of course, were very proud of that, and it was the award winner for the year. It was a wonderful show, and we're expecting this to be another Very successful, a very fine show. Not only the wonderful people who have worked backstage, you know, that I would just give a world of credit to, but we have an outstanding cast. Juno is Eileen Waite, who had a role here a couple of seasons ago. And she's returned and has this major role now. Jay Ludwig, Jay Mills, you know, we know them very well. They've appeared many times. Quite a few newcomers, marvelous people. We had 3 days of auditions, and 2 of our wonderful people walked in the last evening. Sean Byrne, who is Johnny, and Ellen McLaughlin, who is Mary. And so many other people. I can't mention all 16 of them, but they're all wonderful.
And they come from diverse areas. I think Eileen is from Bergen County.
Eileen is from the Flanders area.
I'm sorry. Ellen.
Ellen
Yes.
is from Bergen County. Ellen read one of our ads and appeared.
That's right. And Eileen is from
Randolph.
Randolph.
You're
area,
right, Randolph.
yes. And then, of course, people a little closer to the barn. The barn is located on Skyline Drive in Montville, and now in its 64th season, so we've been around for a while. And many people do come from the Boonton, Montville, Mountain Lakes area, but it's nice to see these people coming from a little further away. And this happens more and more. Well, for instance, the set designer, where did you say he was from?
He works with the Nutley Little Theater.
Yeah,
You know, that's his area of activity. Well, that's
area.
one of the wonderful things about the Barn Theater. We're always welcoming new people.
Yes.
You know, we have those of us who have been there for a long
while.
time, but every production brings new people who become part of that barn group.
Have you any inkling as to why Marty Wilde selected this particular play? Juno and the Paycock, which is universal, but
Marty just always chooses plays with some kind of, it seems, family interrelationship, whether they're actually related by blood or not. They always seem to be family units, very close units that interact. You know, so there's always the interest of what's taking place and the outside forces and how it affects each one of them, you know, and who survives and what it does to their relationships.
I think one of the there are many charming aspects to this play. I personally enjoy the lilt of the Irish way of speaking, and O'Casey particularly is rather poetic, even in the most dire circumstances. His poetry.
The dialogue is wonderful. There are lines I
yeah.
never tire of hearing. And we were very lucky. We had someone who came over, a woman by the name of Peggy Carrington, who's from Dublin and helped us with the dialect. So I think you're not going to be able to tell, you know.
No, I'm certainly impressed. For you folks who would like to see Sean O'Casey's Juno and the Paycock, opening performance is Friday evening, March 8th. There'll be a performance Saturday, March 9th, and the following weekend on the 15th, 16th, and 17th, and the final weekend is Friday, March 22nd, Saturday, March 23rd. Now, on the middle weekend, St. Patrick's Day is March 17th. That would be most appropriate. And on the Sunday evening, we do have discounted prices for senior citizens and students. We do have a phone number for you to call, and that's 334-9320. You can get information and reservations by calling 334-9320. I might add that Friday and Saturday performances are at 8:30, and the Sunday evening performance is at 7:30. So we hope you'll all come out for Juno and the Paycock. I wondered if you'd tell us a little bit about the crew. We said there are about 60 to 70 people. There is the set designer, and then there is the construction crew and decor. How do they interface or interact?
It always depends on the production. You know, there are certain given roles, and then they give a little bit. As if you said, this time we brought in an outside designer, and he had a crew of his own. So they interacted with our set construction person, who was Marty Kleindienst. We have the most wonderful group of set construction people.
Yes.
Many people think the fun is always being on stage and acting, and so much of the fun is being over there working with these people who never take the bows and give so much to the theater. So these two crews worked together to build this magnificent set. set decor people came in. You came in with your prop people. There was just so much interaction, such as this past Saturday when there had to have been 25 to 30 people
At
there
least,
in
yeah.
that one day. I didn't mention lighting. Valerie Gerard, who has done lights for this production also, was there with all of her people up in the rafters hanging lights while everything was going on down.
And there's a sound crew also.
The sound crew.
Yeah.
There's some wonderful Irish music in this.
That's right.
Just
yes.
it's background, but it's
Background music,
wonderful.
yeah.
Sets the mood.
And very, very colorful, even though we think of it, as you read the play, as a very poor Irish tenement. It is colorful and beautiful. The set is just breathtaking, and the people have been wonderful. Kathrynne, I know you've also performed at the barn. What do you prefer, performing or producing?
I don't prefer, you know, whatever I'm doing at the time, I suppose, because I had said to one of the people last Saturday, I think I like this better, you know, and she said, oh, I don't. And I thought, I love doing set decor. I mean, that's just
That's
a particular
right.
interest of mine. And there are wonderful shows that I've enjoyed being in, but it's also very, very satisfying bringing it together, and it's all creative.
And I would recommend to people in the audience, not only would we like you to come to see the shows at the Barn Theater, but you might be interested in helping with construction or design or decor. There's so much fun.
Always welcome.
It's,
Always welcome.
6-week rehearsal period, isn't it? Yeah.
For most of the shows,
Yes,
musicals
yeah.
take a
A
little,
little
bit
bit
longer,
longer.
but they can always just walk up to somebody and ask them when they're over at the theater, or call the same number and leave the name.
Leave a name and someone will get back to you. I know there are a couple of people who auditioned for this show, did not get roles, but expressed an interest in working on the show.
And they are working.
And they're working
We call
very,
them and they are
very,
working.
very hard. Well, again, I'd like to mention the phone number. You can get reservations for Juno and the Paycock by calling 334-9320. We're opening March 8th, running 3 weekends until the 23rd. We'd love to see you there. The seats are wonderful. If you haven't been up to the barn, you really should come to see us. It's a beautiful theater, built to look like a barn, but inside is just a wonderful community theater. I think we seat about 210. Is that? Yeah, very comfortable seats, too. Kathrynne, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, I'm just delighted to be here.
And we'll see you all at the barn. This is Elisa Kennedy for Video on the Go, Backstage, OnStage at the Barn Theater of Montville. Thank you.